Well, I appreciate you all being here today, and I really thank Leanne for inviting me here for today to give this presentation. I'm very focused on the theme is about change. So I think what we've done with this report is something that you'll all be really interested to see. But being new to B3, 5 months in, and the ex-director sitting in the audience, I've got to be careful that I get these things right. So if you're not aware about B3, B3 is a collaboration. It's been around for over 20 years now. It's probably the longest collaboration across the four Crown Research Institutes. So Ag Research, Plant and Food, Scion, and Landcare Research as well. And Lincoln University with the Bioprotection Centre as well. They're in there as well. If you think of them, they're the ones who actually fund our science. Now, something I'd like to bring up at this moment in time is we're talking about change here. We have Tiarara Parange. Tiarara Parange is going to review the science system and the funding mechanisms going forward. We, at the moment, we can guarantee funding on research projects up to 2026, but we've got uncertainty of where that fund is going to be coming forward. What I would really like to do is get industry behind us as well as the research organisations to make sure that the work we do in terms of biosecurity is seen as a national research priority. It's been put out there by government that that's what they're looking at, is what are the national research priorities. They're also looking at public good services as well. So the top part of this diagram is really, really good. It's all about the science and the expertise that's available. The bottom half about this is the stakeholder engagement which we have, and that's with government and with industry, which is really, really good. So when you bring the two together, what you've got is you've got a mechanism where you have the people with a need who can guide the people with the expertise to deliver the solutions that they want and need to move forward. The great thing about B3 is that we've got 120 researchers that we've got access to. We invest around $7 million per year in research. So, you know, we're quite active in this role. But if you think about the job we've got and 7 million people, $7 million and 120 people, we're not funded nowhere near enough to actually give the capability and deliver the tools and mechanisms that we potentially do. And if you think our area is around ensuring that we prevent the establishment of invertebrates, pathogens and weeds in New Zealand, we cover a lot. This diagram was shown earlier on by Mark. I don't know where this came from, but I'd stolen it from David. I think it's a really, really good diagram. And we spoke yesterday on site, spoke about having data to make decisions up front. And somebody else said, oh, this is insurance. Well, if you look at the infestation and the costs and the different areas which you can invest in, if you invest early and you've got good data and got good information, your costs, the return on investment in this diagram here, it says 100 times what you put in. If you leave it too late, you get intergenerational costs. So it makes sense to invest up front in the border area for plant to stop things getting established in the environment. So the team were really, really good. What they did was they reviewed 600 different research reports along climate change and biosecurity. And they come up with some really, really good conclusions in that and summarise that in this document. So I really want to acknowledge the great work that Nicola, John, Jessica and Craig have done, and I believe David was also involved in that work as well. But what we wanted to do was put it out into the media. We thought, no, we want to reach further than the research organisations and research community. So we put it out through the media system. And what did they pick up on? New Zealand can grow bananas and pineapples. They missed the point completely. The whole point was that we need a resilient biosecurity system and that change is happening. It's not coming, it's happening right now. So what is it we need to do? And we need to actually invest in our future going forward. But they missed it completely. So if you look through the report, and I would encourage you to have a look through it, what they've done is, I wouldn't worry about all the details of these different lists. This particular list has 14 different megatrends. This is from the European Commission. There's another one that's got 7. There's another one that's got 5. It all depends on how you cut the cloth. How do you want to actually define these things? And that's got a really significant impact on how the report was actually drafted up. What the team decided to do was not actually look at these overarching themes, but let's go down a bit more granular. Let's have a look at what's happening within the system itself. And again, this is something you don't really need to pay a lot of attention to, because it depends on what you want to put in there, because there's no global agreement on what these different aspects will be going forward in the global community. I don't think you can see it on the slide here, but the solid lines represent the positive influences, and the dotted lines represent the negative influences on each other. So what I thought I'd do is sort of talk about this in probably more simple terms. When I was at MPI and I was working with them, I was trying to define to them what's a complex system. And if you think about Lambden Quay in Wellington, right? On a Sunday, you walk down Lambden Quay, nobody about, you walk any side of the street you want. There's not a problem. So you stay on the pavement, just keep walking wherever you want. If you go down there on a lunchtime and during the week, everybody self-organises and they either walk on the left-hand side or the right-hand side, and they pass. So they coordinate themselves. They self-adjust. All it takes is a tourist from a cruise ship to decide they're going to stop and take a photograph, and then what you see is it's not the person in front of you that you have to be react to. It's probably somebody 5 positions ahead, and that's what that previous diagram actually showed. Was all those interactions. You can't just say that the one adjacent to you is the one that's going to actually influence what you're going to do. The reason why I put this slide up here is because of what we're actually looking at is a global redistribution. It's happening now. This particular graph, which I can't read now because I can't see the numbers, 1951 to 1980, the temperature, that was the baseline. And the increase in temperatures on this map, and it shows the change in temperature globally. We were at a presentation by SEBA recently, and what they identified was that New Zealand is going to be one of the least affected countries in terms of temperature change, which is good. But that doesn't mean to say that we're not going to see more rain and more drought. It's going to happen. We know it's going to happen. It's not if, it's when and where. So when we've got these different changes going on in the system, what you've got to think about is where the original potential threat came from. That's potentially going to move to the most habitable place globally. And when it moves, what are the dormant things that were left behind that could potentially be new risks coming up as well? So there's a lot to be thinking of when you're thinking about complex systems here. It's not just we know we've got this particular risk, but it's what's the unknown risk that's not going to actually materialise until that shift occurs. And this is the reason why I put up this Macquarie Island example around when they try to eradicate the pests on the island there. They removed the cats, right? The main predator on the island. So the rat population exploded, the rabbit population exploded, and the mice population exploded. So when you take something out of the system adapts itself. So that's what we're looking at here, preparing for change. And OnSide did a really good job again around a solution. We're moving into that digital area, into the technology area, without a doubt. Well, I'll have to skim over this because time's quite short. So the point I want to get to on this one is we're actually generating solutions that are adding to the problem, but we've got to have those solutions. This is a bit unfair, these statistics here. So 3.5% of global greenhouse gas emissions in 2019 was higher than the aviation industry in 2018. That is a fact, and it's going to increase. It's expected to at least double. I think it's meant to be by 2023 up to 5.5%. But we need those technologies. But that includes the manufacture, the infrastructure, everything that actually is associated with that digital technology. If you look at the aviation fuel comparison, that's about fuel. Okay, so you've got to think about what are you actually comparing it. But it's a significant thing to take into consideration is the fuel consumption there. The other thing is, with we are moving to the digital age, is Massey University, we're given $400,000 to develop this rural innovation lab to boost digital technologies on farm, which again is great. We're moving in that direction, and that's where we're going to be heading up, into the technology industries. Right. The other thing I really want to quickly talk about here is as a piece of work, I use Andrew Krylicek, who's at Plant and Food Research. So he developed a tool on sniffer technology for brown marmorated stink bug, and he did this when I was at MPI, and that's when I first engaged with B3. So he came forward and he's had this piece of research, and MPI were like, yes, this is great. We need sniffer technology, and it got funded, and it went through KiwiNet, and it was done as a proof of concept to be a solution. So that's when I engaged with Andrew, and I presented to our senior leadership team, and they were really enthusiastic about it. And then I was asked, how much does it cost? And that's when we fell off the edge of the cliff. The problem is, research organisations are set up to do research. At this moment in time, if it's not commercially viable as a tool that you can sell, not make more money from the industry and anything like that, but a tool that you can sell, then it's not funded. And that's something else I'm pushing MPI. If we're developing biosecurity tools, most of them will not be commercially viable. Right? They're not there in the marketplace to actually make money. They're to save money long term. So we need to change the way we think about these things. Okay, and I think this is a really, really good quote from Nathan Guy. Right, this is an ongoing thing. Right, it's never going to end. So why is it every time we need money, we have to go through this competitive funding round? Why is it that we have to go in for a smart idea or an endeavour or something like that? It should just be portioned off every year, much like we do for the New Zealand Police or for teaching. It's never going to go away. So why don't we just have a dedicated fund? And actually, I'll stop there. It's probably a good point to stop.